Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Night City in the beautiful world of Cyberpunk 2077. This is one of the most aesthetically pleasing games that I have ever played, and what you're looking at right now is maximum settings with RTX on PC. Not only is the game pretty to look at, but it's also an incredibly deep game with many layers of gameplay in each building, each scenario. You can hack, you can stealth. There's so much going on. I think it's got a great story, great music, great art style, and I'll make a lot of content on this channel gushing about Cyberpunk 2077 over the next week or so, but it is extremely demanding on your PC. I think CDPR wanted to build a future-proof game that's going to be fun to play and will still look good perhaps even a decade from now, kind of like The Witcher 2 and 3. So running this on launch day won't be easy, and it'll push your hardware to its absolute limits. I partnered with Nvidia for today's video to show you how to boost your frame rates with their technology and get a more stable performance with high settings and RTX on if you're going to be playing on PC. As a part of this sponsorship, I'd like to let you know that the very first link in the description will take you to Nvidia's Cyberpunk page, which explains all of the new technologies that they developed and worked on and optimized for this game. I'd highly encourage you to check it out. All of the gameplay that you're seeing is before the second mission in the game, some of it before the first, and a lot of it just me running around on the streets killing people at random, as to keep it spoiler free because I know the story is important for you guys. And I'm going to start off with an opinion. RTX On is the definitive way to play Cyberpunk 2077. It makes a bigger difference in this game than any game I have ever played in the past because you've got a ton of bright neon lights, metal on your characters and your vehicles and your guns, there's glass everywhere, there's water everywhere, there are reflections going on everywhere, and you've seen kind of the B-roll comparison footage that Nvidia gave me to show off, and it paints a pretty clear picture of the quality, but I wanted to show you a few cool examples that I found early on that might explain this a little bit better. RTX, or ray tracing technology, in its simplest form is real-world reflections. With RTX on, you can see that I can see the real world reflected on the car, but when I turn it off, it's just kind of a static image that isn't quite as immersive or realistic looking, and this applies to almost every surface in the game, and of course, puddles of water in the ever-so-wet Night City. You can see the real world reflecting around you in the water. However, when you turn RTX off, of course, that doesn't happen, and the only thing the developers can do is put a static image on there to kind of keep you in the illusion that something is being reflected even though it's not realistic. However, there's something else that I noticed early on that I don't think anybody's pointed out before that's really cool, that really shows you how neat this technology is. Relatively early in the game, you're going to meet a new character, you're going to get in his car and take a very long ride with him while he does a plot exposition dump on you. However, during this ride, if you pay close attention and look at his glasses, I've zoomed this image in about 400%, you'll notice that his glasses are literally reflecting the world around me in real time. So when he looks at me, I see the reflection of what's behind me, what's on my back. And I think that is a really cool detail to add, and those little touches go a very long way for immersion. If you want to turn on RTX technologies or ray tracing, just go to your settings, go to graphics, and then you're going to want to scroll pretty much down to the bottom, and the next to last option will have your ray tracing on, off, and a variety of settings for it. I always leave it on, and personally I leave it on ultra because I am not man enough to put it on psycho right now. I am on board for RTX all the way throughout the entire game. It is absolutely the way to play. Unfortunately, it is a major tax on your GPU. RTX is not easy to run. This game is not easy to run. It's incredibly demanding, which is where Nvidia Dlss comes in. Like ray tracing, you'll find Dlss at the very bottom of your graphics setting menu. It's got a couple of settings, performance, quality, ultra, whatever. I by far got the best results just on auto. Just the simple default auto setting worked great for me. Enabling this setting can literally save you up to 60% frame rate. Seriously, this is one time where I tested it out and I got the exact same results that the engineers did on the back end. This is a huge performance boost. I know that sounds very unbelievable, but just check out this example. Right now, I am in Chinatown and I have the NVIDIA GeForce performance overlay, so you can see a lot of specs about what's going on. And you'll see that as I run around Chinatown in this game and interact with light and move fast and do a variety of things, I get massive frame drops and relatively low frame rate, even for an RTX 3090, especially when I start interacting with light. So that's probably not the kind of performance that a lot of you would like out of that card. However, if you enable DLSS, it jumps up to around 70 FPS from sub 40, which is a massive gain. We're hitting 75, 76 right there. We might crack 80 at some point, basically making the exact same run with only one setting different. And I want to clarify, I didn't change anything. I didn't change the time of day. I didn't do anything to my computer. I didn't turn RTX on or off. The only thing I did was turn DLSS on, and it helped my frame rate this much. That is a massive boost. You're going to see a pretty similar performance gain in my walking around the street pretending to be a normal person example. So the game is very immersive. It's a role-playing game. You're supposed to kind of like walk the streets, live the life, do the thing, and not necessarily just wild and out and kill people like GTA. So you'll see a lot of gameplay like this. Just my normal basic walking around gameplay doesn't really get much above 40 FPS. I think this one tops out about 45 or 46. However, in the exact same street, moments later, when I turn DLSS on, I'm already in the 60, 75, 73 FPS territory. You can see the immediate jump in FPS, and I actually cannot believe that the FPS gain is that much. Now that you've seen the performance gains, you're probably wondering, what is DLSS? It stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling. Most of you are probably already familiar with super sampling. It's effectively a way to make a small image bigger without losing any quality. You can do the same thing for videos, since they just render in frames, which is a still image, but just tons of them per second. This kind of technology was originally used on gaming consoles to upscale 720p into 1080. Nvidia got interested in this technology as a means of efficiency, because as I'm sure most of you know, the higher resolution you render your game into, the more your GPU is going to be taxed, and in most cases, the lower the frame rate. Well, what Nvidia did is they built a neural network and a machine learning system, which I guess they called an AI. It's not really like a true AI. There's no like robotic soul there making decisions. It's just a gigantic network of computers that runs thousands or perhaps millions of different variations of an algorithm to try to find the most effective one. What that means for you and me is that when I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077, the game probably isn't rendering very often in native 1440p, but probably 900 to 1080p, and it's being run through Nvidia's extremely efficient Cyberpunk-specific super sampling and anti-aliasing algorithm, so that the end result is a 1440p image that you cannot tell the difference between that and a native one, but it uses, in this case, half the system resources, so you can double your frame rate. And DLSS is a godsend for Cyberpunk 2077. This is an incredibly demanding game, and I'd probably be crying right now without it. I'd be crying in my sub 60 FPS performance. And obviously this video is sponsored by Nvidia, right? I've been talking about their technologies and pimping them out a lot. Well, that's true, but I'm telling you guys, they're just the way to go for GPUs because of the software that backs up the hardware. The software components are amazing. I think RTX is the best ray tracing technology on the market. It looks best to me. As you saw, DLSS saves you a metric ton of system resources, and other companies can't compete with that. I record 95% of the content that you watch on this YouTube channel, not the Cyberpunk stuff, but also the Call of Duty stuff, with NVIDIA Shadowplay. That is always on my computer. All the gameplay you saw here was captured with Shadowplay. They have the Ansel technology, which is great for screenshots and thumbnails. Some games can auto-save highlights, and the little performance measuring tool, which you saw during the DLSS section, is very nice too. However, at the end of the day, all of these little software features add up to make a very big difference to me, which is why I'd recommend their products, and I work with them mostly because I enjoy their technology. Well, that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something useful. If you did, I would highly encourage you to click the link down there in the description and check out the NVIDIA 30 series cards, because they are just absolutely the way to play Cyberpunk 2077, as you can see from the gameplay examples. I'd encourage it to anybody, anywhere, anytime. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.